How did this brand get to be at every important high school basketball game, surpass 1.6 million followers on TikTok and over 150K on Instagram, end up getting free tickets to major sporting events and taking over the internet? Find out more after this intro.
And while you at it peeping this shit, go ahead to youtube.com/WaterwayTV and subscribe to that shit. Yeah, you know the waves in it. Baseball when hitting a home run, hit it with the coldest rains, and even on my bad day.
And we are back. We got Joe and Nolan in the building, right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
correct. That's your names, right? I know you
yes,
guys are
sir.
strictly B-ball until today. I did look up your names before you walked in, though, just to be sure.
Yeah.
But if you guys didn't know, Strictly B-Ball, you've probably seen one of their videos on your TikTok, Instagram feed. If you follow sports at all, you've probably heard their voice. That's a very big possibility, you'd say, right?
I hope so. Yeah, we're trying to reach as many people as possible. But
I was thinking about it today. I think you guys, in this room at least, you guys are the most followed brand, at least, that person or brand that I've ever interviewed.
Really?
I think you are.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I did an interview with Adam22, but that was like outside, like on the spot at an event, and he has like millions of followers. But no one else. I don't think anybody has 1 million followers on any platform besides you guys that I've ever interviewed. So
Well, interviewing Adam22, that's pretty big. When was that?
that was in like 2020 or like maybe right. It was like right before COVID time. So whatever that was,
Gotcha.
probably right early 2020. But here we are today. Before we get too deep into the brand, I want them to kind of maybe get a idea of who you guys are, where you're from, and maybe how you got a love for basketball.
Yeah, for sure. So we're both really big basketball fans, and we grew up in the same neighborhood, so we kind of had that connection early on. So we've known each other since we were like probably 3 or 4 years old. So we kind of found that similar interest, and then like it kind of turned into also a passion for like social media stuff. So we started like experimenting with like posting like basketball like edits on Vine, actually. Rest in peace to Vine. But that's kind of where we got our start, and then it was a lot of experimenting with Vine, Instagram. Nolan can go into a little bit about how he started on Instagram.
Yeah, so Joe kind of touched on the Vine stuff a little bit, but just out of the blue, I just thought, like, why am I not posting? Like, this is something I'm passionate about. I love doing it. So I kind of got on a consistent posting basis on Instagram, and then some of the videos got traction. I think a few of them got 1 million views, but for whatever reason, I just wasn't getting the most followers on the account. I feel like, basketball edits on Instagram is like very saturated. You see them all the time.
Yeah.
So I kind of just lost motivation with that, and then come COVID and quarantine, we're bored. We just figured, why not hop on TikTok, and I guess the rest is history.
So did you start by always like going to games and commentating over them, or were you ever just like looking at highlights and like putting together highlights and talking over them maybe before you got the credibility to be at these games?
So the first type of content that we started making was just with sounds and kind of just having text and like different elements with that. And then do you want to touch on the first video?
Yeah, I guess with like TikTok specifically, like before like the Vine and Instagram stuff, it was all just highlights. Like we'd throw some music over it. But then with TikTok, like Nolan said, it started with just like the highlights. But then we started doing like NBA videos where we would like rank different things, like grade different things. Like the first series that kind of went viral on TikTok was grading every #1 overall pick since 2000. So we'd like go back and look at like all the #1 picks, and that was like a 5-part series or something that kind of like blew us up, and then we just ranked and graded like everything you can imagine.
Everything, logos, team jerseys, it didn't matter. We graded it.
I think I seen the draft pick one for sure.
Yeah.
So it was that for a while, but then like in after about like 6 months on TikTok, we just stopped gaining followers. It just kind of ran out of ideas. So for a few months, we weren't really growing at all. I think we were at like 250,000 followers on TikTok. And then we were just kind of itching for a new idea. So we went to a Minnehaha game, and it was at the tail end of Chet's senior year. And so we just filmed the game on our phones. We did a voiceover game recap, or we did like a preview and then a recap. And that did really well for us. It was like our most viewed video we ever had on the account. So that's when we knew like, we always liked high school basketball, but then that's when we knew like, all right, we can kind of make content around this. It's a lot more like original compared to doing the NBA stuff. So that's kind of how it started.
And we loved it too. I mean, research can be pretty time consuming, and the other types of videos we did was storytelling, but now telling a game that you were actually at. It was super fun, and it's my favorite type of content to make. So very glad that we can do it as a full-time job now.
Yeah, you hit like that niche of like, because NBA obviously everybody can watch it on TV from home, but those high school games, like if no one's recording it and uploading the highlights, like no one can see it, you know, unless like the big ones are televised sometimes. So and Minnesota happens to be a really good sport for the past few years for recruits and stuff, even at least for college, and then obviously with Jalen Suggs and Chet going lottery picks in the NBA, like you guys definitely could capitalize on that. What have you had any like struggles to like get into high school games and like be able to get those views you want, or like from where you started, from where you are now? Because I know now they probably invite you to these places for the most part, but like when you were first starting, how did you get like the authority to basically sit under the hoop, or you know, like and not be like, get out the way, you know?
It's like early on with like local high schools, it wasn't too hard. We wanted to make sure we could like, they wouldn't be like, who are these people? So we like email the athletic director of like any high school we're going to, and they would just be like, yeah, go ahead. Because the local stuff is just like, they appreciated anyone being at the games. But early on when we wanted to start like doing more of the national stuff, we would have to kind of, it was a little bit more difficult with like bigger events, but we didn't ever have too much difficulty. I mean, we obviously had to like pay for our own travel and stuff like that, but it's I guess it's a lot more open than I guess some people might imagine.
It's also kind of funny too, because you know, we film with our phone and it looks way less professional, especially in the early stages when, you know, you don't have the biggest following and we don't really look like the oldest people in the world. So it just kind of looks like a teenage kid standing under the hoop with a phone. So it's kind of funny, but over time you build up confidence, and now we don't even really reach out to the athletic director because there's just so much filmers there where we just show up next to the other guys. Yeah,
and if like they really ask, you just show them who you are, and they'll probably say it's cool anyways.
Yeah,
it's kind of where we're at a little bit in the music game. It's kind of hard to get backstage because there's so much like security, at least for hip hop events. It's a little bit harder because like they have to be a little more strict on who they let backstage and stuff. How do you guys work as a duo? Like what's your roles in Strictly Bball?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say we kind of do like the exact same thing. We're kind of like do it all guys. We, you know, it's just us and I. It's me, Joe, and then we have a manager who helps like get us brand deals and do the negotiating side of that. But the content that we push out, it's entirely Joe and I. We kind of just, you know, brainstorm ideas, and we're both super creative, so we kind of just figure it out on our own. Every video that's my voice, I, you know, basically came up with the majority of the script. We'll run it by each other just to see if there's other things we want to add. But the videos with my voice is entirely made by me and vice versa for him. And that applies for all content.
So you guys like shoot all your own videos too, mostly at this point, right?
Yep.
We've experimented with also like, obviously we can't be everywhere at the same time. So we've like gotten people to film games for us in other states. I mean, it's a lot easier for us compared to a lot of other people because we can get someone with very little experience to just film on their phone. So that's kind of another way we're trying to grow, is by getting people in different states that are more tuned into their local high school basketball market and get them to film games for us. But yeah, it's just, we pretty much have the same role. Just we both come up with scripts, we both edit, we both do all that stuff.
Did you guys ever like think when you started like this shit was actually going to be like a full-time job, or it was just more of like, this is fun and maybe we could go viral and have people like just like know who we are?
I think we needed to see the videos go viral beforehand to fully realize. I feel like we've always had a passion for social media and basketball. But yeah, once the video started going viral and we kind of just saw the overall response to it, I don't remember exactly when I realized it could be like a full-time job. I always knew I wanted to do you know, social media as a profession. That's what I went to school for. But yeah, just eventually we just figured out that it would work. And then one summer, what was it, summer 2020 or 2021? I think it was 21, where you did it full time, where we just
last summer.
So
2021.
I would probably say summer of 2021 is when we really realized, because we treated it as like a full-time job. You know, we would, you know, wake up every single day, go in his the office is what we call it now. It's just a room where we just film. We have a nice little setup now, and we just like doubled our followers. Like we mentioned, we were at 250K. We went from like 250 to 500, and then we went into our senior year of college, you know, with 500,000, and just like, all right, finish college and then just start, you know, doing it as a full-time job.
Fire. That's nice that you're actually able to go to college and use your college degree or whatever you learned in college to put it towards, your own job. Because I remember like when social media and like social media management, like, because when did you guys graduate high school? Was it like
2019?
2019. So yeah, you guys are even younger than me. I graduated in 2017. So like I remember like when I dropped out of college after like during my sophomore year, and then moved out here and like started this brand. But I remember like going in there, and like social media and like social media management was like a new thing that you could like go to school for, and I was like, damn, like that's really cool. But like I never actually ended up taking classes for it besides like online courses of maybe learning tactics and learning from like Gary Vee and like shit like that. But would you say like stuff you learned in college helped you at like with like strictly b-ball at all, or?
In all honesty, not that much.
Okay.
I definitely wanted a degree to kind of just like benefit it. So it's just like, if I'm in sports media, why not just have, a creative media, mass communications degree? But in all honesty, I really don't think it helped that much. Kind of just like him and I are kind of like self-taught in a sense. Like we've been doing it for so long, take inspiration from other people, and we just sort of figured it out on our own.
Yeah, I would say like for people that are like trying to get into it, it's like, if you are doing like social media in college, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but I would say the number one thing you can help yourself by doing is just like doing stuff on the side, doing your own side projects. Like you don't want to go to school for social media and graduate without having ever like experimented with making content.
Posted a social media post for something, because there's even like there's this thing at the U of M where it's like a Radio K or whatever, where it's like you could work for this radio station while being in college, but it's like, if you're not, you got to use those resources to start your own, media company or radio station type thing while you're there, so that when you get out, it's already ready for you when you get out and everything you learned along the way. So, but yeah, that is a good point for that. Have you guys ever been approached by like a bigger brand to like basically work for them or like sign over to them? I know like Overtime does that a lot with a lot of creators. At least like I've met a few in Minnesota that have been like really good cameramen, and then all of a sudden like now they're Overtime and then their name or something, you know what I mean? Like, did you guys ever get a phone call, email, DM from a brand like Overtime Slam being like, yo, like, can you be Slam Strictly B-Ball or whatever?
Yeah, we've definitely been approached by brands to be bought out or work for them full time, but the mindset now is just try to do it on our own and make our own thing, make it big on our own.
Yeah, because you guys are basically handling everything from recording the content to writing the scripts to talking over the content to posting the content and it actually doing well. So it's like usually when people have one of those things, they'll be good at talking over the content, but they'll have their homie shooting the videos or whatever it may be. So like then those are the times where people are like, shit, I could do that and join in with y'all. But honestly, your guys' shit has been crazy. Like it's the most simple shit, but you have to have the brand equity for it to like mean more to watch yours than to watch someone else's. Did you have any big struggles to get to that point? Like, did you see other people doing like similar shit that was like, damn, maybe they're gonna watch them instead of watch us, or if they blow up before we do, we may look like we copied them or something, you know what I mean?
Honestly, right away it wasn't like that. Like we kind of were the only ones doing the voiceover stuff with high school basketball for a while, and that kind of benefited us because Overtime kind of did some of the voiceover stuff, but we were really the only ones that were doing our style. I would say now there's more people that are doing, I think the voiceover like stuff is definitely growing with high school basketball, but I think we got to a point and I think to answer your question, like we were able to reach that point where people know it's us and people like recognize us as the voiceover high school basketball people before anyone else was able to kind of claim that title, I guess.
Yeah, because there's a thing where like your guys' voice is the brand. Like if I came on there and read a script, it would still get like maybe a part of the views because people are it's gonna pop up on their page. But like if I don't hear one of your guys' voice within the first 2 seconds, I may swipe away. But like I know like, oh, if it's that voice, it's probably some good content. And you guys definitely built up that like image or reputation. Yeah, you know what I mean?
We appreciate that, and it's funny too because a lot of people can like recognize the voice, but they can't even tell the difference or would even know who's the person running it because they just see the high school content and our face isn't in it. We try to build the personal brand a little bit. YouTube videos, our face is in it a little bit, and if it's a sit down research type piece of content, it'll be our face will be in it a little bit, but a lot of people don't even know what we look like or our name even.
Yeah, and that's one that's one thing I wish Waterwave was a little different about. Like, I wish Waterwave was very, like, just the water bottle. But obviously doing a podcast like this, like, we'll show who's behind the water bottle and everyone that's involved when we now have a clothing store and people to walk in and see it physically. But like there's always that time where I wish I could just like talk about whatever I wanted and people wouldn't be able to point a finger at that person, you know, or like have an opinion about something and people can't be like, oh, that it's that person's opinion, when in reality, like we have a lot of people that post on our social media page now, so it's not always just me, but it's like people love, or like if it's me or one of those 5 people, like they have someone to blame, you know what I mean, or someone to get mad at, like, oh, you think this person's better than that person. Have you guys had to deal with any shit like that where people like message you directly, or like high school athletes are like, yo, why'd you rank me, or why did you not talk about me in your last video but you talked about him? Like, do you have to deal with that type of stuff?
We get a lot of people like DMing us, like saying like, can you please come out to my game, like I'm underrated or stuff like that. And we like to like look at those DMs and try to do what we can. But yeah, I would say one thing that we've been able to like stay away from is like ranking, like getting involved in like the rankings or like saying someone is ranked too high. Like we try to be positive with like NBA stuff. You can critique any player, but it's like high school kids, it's like you feel a little weird like saying this guy's ranked too high or this guy's not very good. But I mean, people in the comments will always like sometimes disagree with takes we have or stuff like that. But we try to stay away from it as much as we can.
Yeah.
Even if we're covering a specific player, like let's say a top rated guy and they don't perform the best, we're not going to highlight that. We're just going to focus on other things in the game. So just trying to keep the negativity out of the content as much as possible.
Yeah, like I pulled up to watch Chet Holmgren play basketball and he didn't make a single shot.
Exactly. We would never do that.
Yeah, because that's literally, we get that type of shit for like Minnesota music scene a lot, and that was gonna be one of my questions too after this was like if like the Minnesota basketball scene is just a lot of hate, because the Minnesota music scene, like basically like other artists hate on artists so that they maybe can shine before them. And we, you know, we'll get DMs like, man, why didn't you post my song, or why didn't you come to my concert, or why didn't you do this, or why didn't you do that? But it's like reality, like if it's like you can't be everywhere, you can't cover everything. Do like is there like a weird energy in like the Minnesota basketball scene, like where it's like people are maybe competing with each other to be the top recruit rather than like just worrying about their team winning games and how good they can be? Like, do you see that happening?
I would say there's definitely players that like are trying to, they know they in their head know like a guy's ranked ahead of them or like something like that, where they really want to prove that they should be ranked higher. But I wouldn't say it's like super like intense or like hostile. I would say a lot of the top players are like, they know each other, they're friends, they either play on AAU teams together or it's interesting, like even a lot of the top ranked players in the country who live in different states, that's kind of how it is too. It's like these players are kind of friends, they go to camps together and stuff. So I would say it's pretty positive, but there's definitely players that feel like they should be ranked higher than another guy that might have play with a little chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the one major difference between like high school basketball and let's say like if we're talking like let's just say Minnesota basketball and Minnesota music, is that these basketball players are getting their flowers of like, yeah, I got a D1 offer, or I am ranked whatever on ESPN's top 100 list. When like the Minnesota music scene, they don't necessarily get a lot of love to be like, oh yeah, you've gotten posted on the biggest blog this week, or you are that good because your streams are this high, or you're making X amount of dollars off this shit. So where like there's maybe a little less animosity between like athletes and compared to like artists, because they get their flowers when they're due, but like it's definitely hard for like a Minnesota music artist to like get noticed sometimes compared to like a Minnesota athlete, when it's like, shit, if you're dropping 30-40 points a game, you're gonna get noticed, but if you're dropping the hottest bars on a song, you probably ain't gonna get noticed. So it's something that's probably the disconnect.
I will say one more thing about Minnesota basketball that I think is kind of plays into the fact that it's more positive. I think that like we were involved with the Twin Cities Pro-Am this past summer, and like everyone knows everyone, like everyone's thinking about it now, like why is it so positive? I feel like a lot of people just kind of have that pride with like Minnesota basketball. It's like people probably think or like Minnesota basketball players think like they're underrated, which is true like nationally. So I think it's kind of like that camaraderie, like if you're from Minnesota, you play basketball, it's pretty like tight knit community. So I think that's another reason. Yeah,
let's talk about the Pro-Am a little bit. I've gone to the Pro-Am. I might have made it to one game this past year. I don't remember, but it always falls on like times where I'm either in here or I got some other shit going on. But I really want to like have a team next year because I've been to that. I've seen it happen for a while. I'm really close with Jordan from Lamb Chops.
Yeah.
And yeah, I want to have a team really bad next year. And then I seen you guys had a team. I was like, fuck, that'd have been a dope year to get in. Do you guys do you guys think you'll be doing it next year? And two, how did this year go for you?
We'll definitely be doing it again. Yeah.
The year it went, I mean, it was the first year. It was super enjoyable. The content that we got from it was amazing. Like, we loved every part of it. But, you know, from our team perspective, we weren't the most successful. We had so much talent, but just we really weren't a cohesive group. We kind of just, I don't know, it was just like a bunch of talent put together, and we just didn't have as much chemistry. So next year, we're looking to get a team. So hopefully we can have a better record and take down Team Ties.
How do you pick your players?
So they like kind of give you the freedom to put together your team. There's a little bit of like working with the people that run it about like splitting up the teams. But yeah, so we didn't really have too many connections going into this summer, so we kind of got a lot of help. I mean, we knew Sean Sutherland. We went to high school with him, played for the Gophers, and he kind of helped us get some players, but a few of the players were just kind of given to us. So it was kind of a team of guys that didn't really know each other and stuff. But yeah, you do get like freedom to kind of put the GM hat on and be the GM of the team. So we're hoping to do that this year a little bit more now that we have a little more connections.
You've been already thinking of lineups and stuff?
Yeah.
A little bit. We're going to try to recruit some guys.
Yeah. Is there any limitations on like you have to be at least 18 years old or anything like that? Or you like, because I know they have NBA players, so it's not like you can't be in the NBA. Like, is there any limitations, or it's like anybody can play as long as like
high school kids can play?
picked?
We actually had 2 high school kids, Cash Chavis and Daniel Freitag. So high school guys can play. You know, obviously once you get a little younger than that, it wouldn't really make sense for like a 14-year-old unless 14, 15-year-old,
like
unless you're unless you're Cam
shit.
Boozer or like a 7-footer to play in the pro-am. But yeah, I don't think age matters. Even old, like if you're just like 60, if you're still cold.
Yeah, if you can still get out there.
Yeah, if you can still get out there, maybe.
It's competitive though. It's like it's really competitive. Like, I mean, you forget how good like players that aren't in the NBA that are playing overseas. Like those guys are buckets. Like they can drop 50 in a pro-am and they're not even in the league. They're not. Some of those guys aren't even close to being in the NBA, and they can still drop 50 in a pro-am, which is crazy.
Yeah, those games are fun because it's like and I think that the league gets bigger every year too. I even offered to them if we could live stream every game. Like I was like, yo, can we like get that up like Waterwave? You can watch it on either waterwavetv.com or proam.com or Waterwave YouTube if we want to make it free or whatever it may be. But they said the only rule that you can't do that is because the NBA players have contracts with the NBA to where like if they're playing on the court and it's live streamed, it's like through the NBA. Is what he was saying. He said I'll let you know if we can work around it or not, but then I didn't hear back, so I'm guessing maybe not. But I think that's like the one thing that if the Pro-Am had a live stream somewhere, it could be huge. Like you never know who could be watching, or because they fill up the gyms in there. So it's like imagine how many more people from home would want to watch that. They just don't want to get up, but they would love to see Tyus like break some ankles on their favorite friend that they played in high school or something. Like I think that's one thing that they could use if they're allowed to do it, if they can get the approval or something.
Yeah, that is a weird rule too, but I think it's true because I know the Seattle Pro-Am, like when they had like LeBron come through and like Paulo Banchero and all those people, it was live streamed, but it was live streamed on the NBA app, and so I think that's probably the only person. So that's probably the only people that can do it. I mean, there's a lot of times where there's no NBA players on the court, but I feel like it wouldn't make sense to only live stream the games where there's no NBA players.
I wonder, like, because it's like, if I didn't necessarily care about my reputation, I would probably just go and do it anyways. Like, just at least on my phone, like, put up a tripod and just be like, whoever versus whoever, Pro-Am. And if it doesn't get taken down, then do it. But it's like, I definitely know too many people to where it's like I could ruin something for them, or that could ruin something for me at the end of the day anyways.
For sure.
But I think it's very well needed.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to talk about the next step that you guys started getting to professional events. When you like doing high school basketball, where's your goal to like eventually let's be doing this for like NBA players, like sitting under the hoop doing the same thing, like, and even in the NFL now I've seen like Vikings, whatever, you got the brand deal with a brand to bring you out to the Vikings games and stuff like that. So what was that step like, getting to do your first professional sporting event for that?
The first one we ever did was we actually went to a Timberwolves game. We were working with like the Timberwolves like social media team.
Was it the one where they glued their hand to the
No,
court?
it wasn't. It wasn't that.
It wasn't
game.
that one.
You were
no.
at that one though, weren't you, or no?
I
Or
don't
you just
know.
talked about it?
Where were
maybe?
you? Or was that the play-in game? I think we were there.
For some
There was
reason, I felt
one.
like you were talking
There was
about
one
that
sort
one,
of
at least.
protest going on the court that we were at, and I just was really confused what happened, and then it was posted on Twitter afterwards, and I was like,
I think we like were
probably
looking
it, yeah.
away or something. But
Yeah.
we were there for that. I'm pretty sure. But we were there during the COVID season when there was no fans. We like got the opportunity to go out to a game and like kind of make our voiceover style video. It was LaMelo versus Anthony Edwards in both of their rookie years, and it was a weird experience because there was no
so weird.
no
It's like
fans
you're at
there.
Open gym.
Yeah, we were like 10 rows up because we couldn't even be like on the court because of COVID, but we were like 10 rows up and we could still hear everything that was being said. It felt like a high school gym,
Yeah.
but it was NBA players, so it was super weird.
Yeah, you could hear like LaMelo screaming just loud as hell. It was so funny, and just everything that went on, it just felt like you were just so much closer because it was so quiet.
Yeah, so we did that with like the Timberwolves social media team, but I guess the goal wasn't to like, I would say the goal wasn't to like do this at high school level and then move up to the NBA, because like we talked about earlier, like we kind of like having the opportunity, yeah, to cover the high school games, kind of control like, I mean we're the only ones telling the story a lot of the time, and nobody can watch it on TV, so we like that aspect of it. But of course we want to make all kinds of different content, so the opportunity to go to Timberwolves games and Vikings games is definitely fun, and it kind of mixes up the content. But high school, I would say, is definitely like looking into the future is our kind of our niche that we want to stay in primarily.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys have like some type of gold card where you can just pop up to a Timberwolves game and just scan in and get in for free or something.
Nah,
I wish. We are season ticket holders though, so
we got
but
the
I do wish we had that gold card.
we got the starter membership, so we like have the nosebleed seats for every game if we want them. But it's we don't have that. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I just feel like
Maybe
you guys
one
are at
day.
that point where it's like, shit, you might as well, because who's the one guy, Josh Englert?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
he seems like, I know he was one that I was thinking of at the top of my head when I know he started working for Slam or Overtime or maybe both or whatever, and he seems to be at like every game too, and I don't know if he's getting.
He's at every game. Yeah.
If he has like a specific like player that's getting him in there, be like, yo, make sure you get like a recap of me, but you can do whatever you want as well. But like that's how like he was like one of the first people I seen taking advantage of Minnesota sports with like mainly basketball, but I think he was doing some football stuff too when like Jalen Suggs was playing football. But yeah, then I seen you guys come out, and then I was like, oh shit, like these guys put the whole brand behind it, and then hell yeah. But that's far. So what about the Vikings game? Because I know you guys are strictly Bball, but you're at the Vikings game. So do you?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I feel like I mainly see basketball stuff on your feed, but do you try to cover any more sports now that your brand has gotten a little bit bigger?
No, it's just basketball. It's just
Okay.
kind of like within the contract that we had with TickPick, we kind of had to go to a few Vikings games because that's their biggest audience. But
Okay.
we try to find a way to turn it into basketball. The Jets game we went to, we weren't able to bring Daniel, but the first one we brought him, Daniel Freitag, high school player in Minnesota, for those who don't know. And we kind of just like brought him along because he's a two-sport athlete, asked him questions, kind of just like have an overlap. So it kind of makes sense. That,
Yeah.
I don't know, but
But we did so on Strictly B-Ball, we want to keep it like Nolan said, basketball, but I mean it is in the name, Strictly B-Ball. But we started a second account called Strictly Football.
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah, so we are experimenting a little bit with that, and it's actually like done really well on TikTok. And like the first like, so we got a buddy named Leighton. He's
Shout out Leighton.
yeah, he's kind of helping us with the football side. He comes up with ideas and films it. So we're kind of introducing him as like another face of the brand, I guess, on the football side. So yeah, we're seeing how Strictly Football could go. We got a new account.
Damn, you guys could really go crazy with that shit.
yeah, the different
Like, thinking
niches,
about it,
like
like,
making separate
bro,
accounts. And
If
then
y'all want to partner up and do strictly music, hey man, I'll be down.
we'll keep that in mind for sure.
Yeah.
Because we definitely want to like branch out into
Not to
different
just
niches.
like be like, yo, let me hop in your brand, but like if you ever think
Yeah.
about strictly music and you need some type of like person to at least like get it started off or help out with it, I'd be down. Because another point I was gonna bring up is that way where you guys like commentate over the games. That is very prevalent in the music game, where it's like, how did this artist go from living in his mom's basement to dropping his first song to now performing with Yeet on stage? Like
Right.
that I see a lot of that in the music game. But you guys were like the first ones I seen do it with sports. Did you guys have any big inspirations on why you make your type of content?
I would say, I mean, I definitely have some favorite creators that, like one of my favorites is Kenny Beecham. He goes by like King of the Fourth Quarter on YouTube as a basketball creator. But I wouldn't say there's anyone that we kind of were inspired by when it comes to like the exact type of content that we make. I think the voiceover stuff just kind of came naturally through just trial and error of a million different things that we did.
I think one person for me kind of just like experimenting with storytelling or kind of try to pick some things up from was Mike Korzemba. So I watched him for the longest time. It's actually crazy. We were at the draft in Brooklyn and we were in a suite with him, so we actually got to meet him. So it was like a crazy full circle moment, but he definitely is one of the guys that I drew inspiration from.
What's your guys' favorite high school basketball team in Minnesota right now?
Favorite team? I mean, Saturday night we were
Mankato East Cougars?
Is that where you're from?
Yeah.
We haven't
Irondale
watched that.
Knights. The Irondale Knights. No, I haven't even watched an Irondale Knights game. But
Yeah, we're from Irondale, so
Yeah.
I guess that when they're good, that's fun. I would say this year the two best teams are, I would say, Lakeville North and Park Center, and they just played on Saturday, and it was a really good game. But yeah, Park Center's got a really good squad.
yeah, I'll have to say Park Center because they're just so dominant on offense. Like they score
And
so much
defense.
every game. Yeah, defensively too, but they just score so much, and they're a really fun team to watch. So I got to go with Park Center.
If I wish I had some more free time. Like this store takes up a lot of my time, just like labor hours wise and whatnot,
Yeah.
having to be in here and check people out when they want to buy clothes. But I miss like knowing a lot about high school basketball, because when I was in high school, I like quit basketball my sophomore year, but I knew everybody that was good when I was in high school. But now I don't really know anything. But your guys' page is kind of like my only gap bridge to like knowing any of these players' names and stuff like that. What is your most viral video?
Is it the Jathan Bosch? Where are they now?
Yeah, I think it
on-
is.
Yeah, no.
Because I know you guys have a few different like series of like what stuff you do, like the
Yeah.
where are you now? You starting to do like a little more interviews and stuff at games, and then just like the where did this player come from? But like what
The
is
Where
it?
Are They Now like series as a whole is definitely the most like viral thing that we do. I would say. For a while when we had a lot of those ideas we've gone through a lot of the like big ones like the Where Are They Nows, but for a while those Where Are They Now videos were like doing super good. And the most viewed video on TikTok I think is like 19 million.
Damn.
Yeah, and it's funny looking back because over time, I feel like Joe has always just been like super natural with it. But for me, I was like really monotone and just not enthusiastic at all. And like looking back at the video, it's just crazy how it got 20 million views because I listened to it and it's like, damn, I just hate listening to my voice. It's just so boring. It's so damn boring.
Yeah, that's one thing I had to get used to with doing podcasts and vlogging is being on camera, hearing my voice.
Yeah.
It's so hard. You ever watch Daily Dose of Internet?
Nah.
I don't think so.
You guys need to look that up. Every day he posts like a 4-minute YouTube video. It's just like random viral videos on the internet, but he just talks over it. The most monotone, boring voice ever, but he has like tens of millions of followers.
Interesting.
So it's just about your voice being your voice,
Yeah.
really, at the end of the day.
It's funny you mentioned that because I feel like for a while I don't know, like I just was kind of like self-conscious about my voice, but then over time you get more energetic and it's just like you kind of get used to it. It's just like, all right, like just stop getting in your head about your voice. Just be energetic. Just tell the story in the most enthusiastic and best way possible.
So you do vlogs too?
Yeah.
That's something that I cannot do. Like being in public, like having a camera in front of your face, no chance I can do that.
I remember when I first started, I'd be walking around the mall with like it down here like this and just be like trying to talk. But now it's like like we don't vlog very often anymore. We do need to do more because our vlogs like definitely just to have like that timeline and like be able to look back. Like that's my favorite thing about our channel is be able to look back and be like, damn, remember when we were doing that in 2018? Like, and you have a full video of what you looked like, what you were wearing, what you like, what your haircut looked like, everything. You could see, you literally hop in a time portal. So I like it a lot more. Have you guys haven't experimented with personal content yet? Just more of just like record the players.
We want to. We have a main page, a main YouTube channel. There's the Strictly Bball channel where it's kind of just longer versions of the Where Are They Nows. We post it on TikTok and then kind of just other videos as well. So that's gonna be like our storytelling page. But you know, in a few months, hopefully, you know, we have more editors on board, people like helping us. Obviously, we want to expand our team, and we're just so busy because it's just us two doing it to where we can maybe start like. Because I think a lot of people would be curious to see, you know, what going to an event what like looks like. A lot of people see the product of the video being put out, but they don't, you know, they would have no idea. We drove 14 hours. We were in the gym for 14 hours the next day, like 12 hours the next day. We just edit a shit ton and just all this other stuff. So I don't know. I feel like him and I are two pretty interesting people. We're comfortable in front of the camera, at least sitting down for the most part.
I would have to get used to vlogging. Dude.
Yeah. No, I'd say you guys would be. If you guys could make it happen, having a cameraman follow you around would be the best way to do it. That's what we're starting to do, is because you can't be as natural with the camera in your hand at any time. Like, you have to like play a part, or you have to like make sure you're capturing something instead of like acting something, like being you. But no, I think like you at least doing like a once or twice a month vlog to show like what it's like doing your job. So you're not necessarily oversaturating it and being like, we are the brand, like, you know, look at our faces and fuck with us instead of like fuck with the stuff that we do. Because like how we said kind of earlier on, like it's kind of nice like having like a ghost brand and being able, people just have like ESPN, no one's like, oh yeah, that's the ESPN guy, besides like everyone that works on ESPN and is like an announcer and whatnot. But it's like a huge brand that everyone knows and everyone fucks with and is a trustworthy thing. But it's not, because there's no one to blame if something goes wrong, you know, unless someone deliberately says it on camera in front of them, if it's Shaq or some shit, you know?
It's kind of funny too, because like whenever we're noticed in public, I have never heard anyone say my first name. It's just Strictly Bball. Oh, Strictly Bball, Strictly Bball. That's all you hear.
People call me Wave. They call me Water Wave. People do not call me by my name. Like,
but I mean, that's part of what I kind of.
That's what
like,
you want, though.
Yeah, it is kind of what you want. But down the road, I kind of want to build my own personal brand, and I'm assuming Joe does too.
Yeah, and you guys are young. So what are you, like 21?
21.
Yeah, you guys
22.
Yeah, you guys are young. So it's like even at the point where we're at, like we all know that there's a bigger picture to be had off of Water Wave, which I'm sure you guys have like grown to blow. And like Strictly Bball is like just the start. Like, this is like what's gonna get you guys off the ground and potentially get you a $50 million contract with fucking Fox to do basketball games for a year. You know what I mean? Like, you never know. Like, if you're like 45 years old one day, 30 years old one day, and you're like, shit, like I would be down to commentate games for a year, whatever you want to do, whether it's be on a talk show or we talk about high school sports and you get paid a fat check for it because of what you built and your credibility and why people want to listen to you. So it definitely, you guys are definitely on the right path. Like, I don't know, there's I don't even know if there's any other brand in Minnesota like with the motion that you guys have.
Wow.
And I like, if you think about it, like what other, there's no brand in Minnesota that is doing what you guys are doing, like from any aspect, sports, music, creative, freaking cooking, like nothing.
I'm sure there's somebody, but that's a pretty like flattering thing to say.
But
sure.
Appreciate it.
At least from like an outside looking in and not knowing every person in the state of Minnesota, like you like, I don't know, how long have you been doing it?
I mean, I guess the TikTok specifically, it was almost 3 years now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I mean, high school basketball, it's been basically like a year and a half.
Yeah. And that's crazy. Like, just to get to over 1 million followers on one platform and over 150K on another is crazy within 2 to 3 years. And it's like, because I don't even know. Like, because you guys' brand isn't even just Minnesota anymore. What do you notice when you go to other states and travel and record these games? Like, what is the big difference from, like, let's say like the best Minnesota game you could go to in Minnesota versus like one of those league games where they bring a bunch of recruits in? I don't know what they call those, but like some shit like that. Like, what's the biggest difference in what you see on the court and what you get from the fans?
I would say one reason why I like to do like local games is because of the fans. Like a lot of times at the like a bigger events, it's the talent level might be a little bit higher than some of the best games here. Although that Lakeville North Park Center game that's like high level basketball right there. But yeah, like local teams, when you got your home fan base in the crowd, that's a lot more rewarding, I would say, as just like a spectator, because a lot of the times, even at like, we went to the Geico Nationals, which is like the high school basketball national championship, and that environment is not as like electric as like a rivalry game here in Minnesota. Like,
It's not even close, honestly.
Because no one, there's no, it's just like to show out. You know, it's not. There's no like history.
Yeah. Like I would much rather be at that home electric crowd, like you have the electric crowd, that type of game, compared to like a Geico Nationals game where, you know, it's two powerhouse schools, like let's say IMG versus Montford. Obviously the talent level is super fun, but I feel like the environment and the atmosphere that you're in adds so much more to the game, especially if you're like from the area, I guess.
Yeah, interesting. What are you guys' predictions this year for high school basketball?
Like who's gonna win?
State champions.
State champions.
Yeah, because it's they like it's pretty early in their season, right? They like just started.
Yeah, everyone's like 5 games in. I would say, I'll give some predictions. I think the Lakeville North Park Center will be the state championship game again. I don't know who's gonna win. I think it's hard to beat a team twice. I think Lakeville North has a chance.
Like 6A, 5A?
There's 4A. 4A is the top.
4A is the top
for basketball.
Football goes up.
Football goes up to
4A.
6. So for 4A, I would say it's gonna be Lakeville North Park Center. 3A, I think TG is gonna win. De La Salle might have a chance, but TG is probably the clear number 1 for 3A. But I'm excited for if Lakeville North and Park Center match back up, it'll be another really good game.
You just saying Lakeville North and Park Center, I feel like I've heard that in your videos. Like it's like when you guys are talking right now, it's like the most like crazy thing, like hearing your voices saying other stuff besides like just what I'm seeing on the phone. It's kind of weird.
Do you recognize do you like recognize the voice? Like when we talk in person, does it sound like how we do on?
Yeah, I don't. Do you? I feel like I recognize your voice a little bit more. You guys' voice are kind of similar though.
Some people say like we just thought it was just one person.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was just one of you, but your voices are kind of like
similar.
Like
a little bit.
Like yeah, but some of your.
I mean, we've grown up together, so that might be part of it too. So we just kind of have like the same voice. I don't know.
Definitely. What about the NBA? You got any predictions this year?
NBA, honestly, like since we've been doing so much like high school basketball coverage, I've like not followed the NBA as much this year. Partly because like the Timberwolves have been a little bit disappointing. Yeah. So I'm still tuned into Timberwolves games, but NBA, I would take the Bucks. I'm gonna say the Bucks are gonna win it all.
That's a good pick. I'm a casual NBA fan right now too. Definitely, you know, involved with everything that's going on with the Timberwolves and paying attention to that, but everything else I'm kind of a casual fan. But with that being said, Bucks is a great pick. I don't even know who's gonna come out of the West, honestly. I gotta think about that for a sec. Are the Pelicans still first?
I think the Grizzlies and the Pelicans are like.
I do not think the Grizzlies are gonna make it to championship. Hopefully not, because they're the ones that gave us the boot last year. So
they did. And John Morant. And John Morant's dad and Karl-Anthony Towns' dad have a funny relationship too.
Yeah.
I sat courtside at one Wolves game, and they weren't next to me, but his dad was next to me, and then he like told me like, yeah, with John Morant, whatever, blah blah blah. Because I went to a Bucks game, so he wasn't there. But then I seen at like a later game that they were sitting next to each other and talking shit to each other, and it's kind of cool.
I think him and Jordan were like going back and forth. Jordan died. I think him and T.
Jordan talked shit with
John Morant's dad. Oh yeah, Jordan. Yeah, you guys are familiar with Jordan, I assume.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of him? Like, you think like obviously he's good for the Wolves to have someone like that.
He's kind of like this. He's like the official like super fan now.
Yeah, he's like the
hair too. Like it just makes him just so much more recognizable. But it's so funny because like you like see videos of like him talking shit. He has the pictures where he's going back and forth with Devin Booker, but love lamb chops. Like Jordan's just like a super dope dude, and he's really fun to talk to and go up against and beat him in the Pro-Am too. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm kind of just rattling off fun questions here now at this point. What's like the most famous person you guys have like ran into doing this or like got to talk to?
Kanye. Well, not talk to, but like ran. Kind of not ran into, but
that doesn't count.
It doesn't really
Kanye
count.
at the
we were like 5'10" 10-ish feet away from him. So I
I
guess
got
that's
to see
not
him
really
that day too. I was like, dang, 'cause
Yeah.
I was like, that shit was fire.
that wasn't really running into him. It's just kind of just like a starstruck moment being that close. It's just like, oh,
Well, same
shit.
with LeBron too. We were like
Oh,
10 feet
yeah.
away from LeBron.
Yep. So that was crazy too. I took a video. It's my favorite video that I've ever taken. It was LeBron walking. They were going through layup lines, and he went next to Bronny, and he's talking with them, like coaching him up, and it was just like a really cool moment.
Fire.
Well, those are people like we obviously didn't talk to. I'm
Yeah,
trying to
so that's
think
not
of,
come in
like,
contact with, but those
Yeah.
are like the starstruck moments. Still haven't met Chet. Chet, if you're listening, no, I'm joking.
trying to think. I mean, I met this one maybe isn't like super famous, but it was probably one of the cooler moments. Was I met Giannis's brother, his youngest brother, and he was like familiar with like our videos and stuff.
That's cool.
And Giannis is like my favorite basketball, like NBA player. So that was probably one of my like favorite moments.
And it's funny too, because we were actually at overtime filming some games. We were back in their media room, and I noticed he was coming in, and Joe was looking down on his phone, and I knew who it was coming towards us, and he wasn't aware, and then he like, I don't know if he tapped you on your shoulder, but he got Joe's attention and like said, like, I like your guys' content, like all this stuff, and Giannis is still your favorite player,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
like that's where I was like, oh shit, I just wanted to see his reaction, and he was just like, he didn't know what to do, because like
I was
I would have been the same way. Like, you're just looking down, and then you look up,
It's
where
just
the
Giannis'
Antetokounmpo, bro.
brother.
It's just like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm. Do you guys think you'll try to like do more interviews? I've seen you guys been doing those. Like, is that something you guys are trying to like do a little bit more of? Because I think that will help you get to be able to be like get into like the like talk to like
Yeah.
talk to the LeBrons and the Bronnies and be like, yo,
Yep.
so how'd you feel about that game? You know, like the quick, cause like all the players, like some of them like it, but it seems like a majority of them hate, you know, having to spend 5 minutes after the game waiting for the TV crew to be ready. But it's like when it's like a quick like phone interview, 1
Yeah.
minute long, ask you 2 questions. That's the type of shit it seems like a lot of people like to do,
Yeah.
especially on like a smaller level where they don't get that TV
Oh, yeah.
press.
The high school guys, they like doing it. They look forward
Mm-hmm.
to doing interviews more than obviously NBA players. They're probably drained from all the media
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, we definitely want to do more of it, and that's another opportunity for us too. Is because like these guys are ranked number 1, number 2 in the country, and they're still like super personable. They don't have those big egos. Like obviously NBA players, like they're gonna get those egos. They're gonna get tired of doing media. So that's definitely another opportunity for us. And we also talk about, it's like we're interacting with all the top players in the country at this point, and those guys are going to go on to be NBA players, and we're going to already have built that connection. So we'll see where that takes us.
Yeah.
Like you said, eventually being able to ask NBA players all kinds of questions,
Yeah.
and if we form those relationships early.
I think that's
going
going to be one of the coolest things. Like, we've covered these guys in high school, and then they go on to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
And it's just like, damn. Just like, yeah, I kind of knew he was going to be that good.
Mhm.
Or it's just like, I've just talked to him before. Like, he's a dope dude, and you could say all those little things. I think that's just going to be so cool.
That's what we're trying to get at with like Waterwave too, because like we've done so many interviews with artists when they had, you know, 10,000 total streams on their account, and then
Yeah.
one day they're signed selling out a big arena. It's like, shit, we got their first ever interview, and you guys might have one of their first ever highlight videos
Yeah.
or their
Yeah.
first ever courtside interview that people are going to be like, damn, you remember this back in 2020? Now this guy's an all-star. Like, it's timeless content, and it's good because people are gonna look back at it. Have you guys ever thought of doing like a morning show or podcast where you talk about like, I'm a big fan of the Pat McAfee show.
Oh
If
yeah.
you're familiar with that at all?
Yeah, he's blown up this year.
Yeah, so I could see you guys like obviously smaller scale because it's just like you two for now, but like talking, you know, like every Monday morning or every, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday or whatever it is, where you talk about what happened the past few days in high school basketball. Have you guys thought about like taking onto that realm of content yet?
Definitely, yeah. We experimented with a podcast about a year ago, but we weren't like, I don't think we really knew how big we were gonna be in high school basketball. So we experimented with like doing some NBA topics, and the podcast didn't really gain much traction. But now I think that we've like kind of cemented ourselves in the high school basketball space. We want to try it out again, and we honestly think it can be based around just a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
Like interviewing some of the top players in the country, talking about recruiting and talking about their lives outside of that, like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So We're
'Cause-
definitely gonna do that eventually.
Yeah, our initial podcast was not successful like at all. But I feel like this is a little bit different. I don't know of a single. There might be one out there, but personally, I don't know of like a single high school basketball podcast. And we built so much connections with these high school players where we could get a lot of them on for interviews.
Yeah.
So we'd want to go down that avenue compared to just like NBA or just basketball as a whole.
I'd say if you guys pick a specific niche, like I wouldn't even just limit it to Minnesota high school basketball, but high school basketball.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if it's like, if you do a weekly show and you get a new guest on every week from a different state, or
Yep.
even if back to back whatever Minnesota ones or whatever, I think that would be where it's at, because that's what the people are super interested in your brand, is knowing more about these players, and when they don't have the time to watch all the games around the country themselves or look up the scores and stuff like that. So I think that would be one thing that's like super big for y'all. But it's also like you don't want to fall too far from what's working too fast.
Yep.
You don't want to like just get up and leave and be like, oh, let's spend more time doing the podcast because we think it will be good, when the whole time you guys are probably doing just fine of doing what you guys are doing.
Yeah, that's part of it too. It's just him and I, like I said before, it's just him and I. So if we had, more people working on production, that's where it's just like, all right, we can experiment with this. But right now our main focus is just like the high school basketball stuff and trying to get our main YouTube channel off the ground.
Are you guys familiar with 10K Takes?
Oh,
They're a sports podcast
yes.
out
Yeah,
here.
the dude who like impersonates Kirk Cousins too. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, his shit's funny. So I was gonna ask if you guys were familiar with them and if they've like done any stuff with you. But I'm glad I got to get the podcast in first, because I bet that they would hit you up at some point and ask for you to come on their show. Their show's fire though. I fuck with them.
I like their. I haven't seen too much. I don't know if I've seen their long form stuff, but I've seen some of their like clips.
Yeah, I've watched like one of their podcasts or listened to like one of their full long podcasts, but mainly just the clips. And the Kirk Cousins shit is so funny. That shit is hilarious.
And he noticed it too, didn't he? Say something? Or
Yeah,
did they
Kirk Cousins
interview him?
came on their show.
That's
yeah,
right,
like
yeah.
via Zoom or whatever. That's one thing you guys like, because we like Parker Fox when he does our sports one, he does a lot of Zoom ones too, because like he has friends that play D1 around the country. So like that's like with this day and age of being able to do shit on Zoom, like you could get whoever into your podcast and do it. But I guess one last question for y'all: what is like your guys' next step? Like we kind of just talked about future ideas, but like what do you guys got coming up that you guys are excited about and want to share or want to shed some light on?
I mean, I would say in the immediate future, we're gonna be focused a lot on just doing as much travel as we can and getting kind of that, just like we said, like doing what's working right now. But long term, we really want to. Some of the stuff I guess we already touched on, but build our personal brand, do more of the vlog style content and stuff like that. The YouTube has been like successful early on, but we want to make sure like we grow on YouTube. What other stuff long term? I guess getting into events. Like at some point we want to get into events like hosting a high school basketball showcase, like the Strictly Bball showcase or something like that. That's something we would definitely want to do, whether that be a tournament or like a camp or something along those lines, because we have those connections. We think we could get good players to come out. Doing something here in Minnesota too would be really cool.
As of now, we're kind of just like taking it day by day, seeing what opportunity presents itself and then taking advantage of everything that we possibly can. Joe kind of touched on some other things that we might experiment with in the future, but I don't know. We're just so lucky to be in the situation that we are in right now, and who knows what the future holds, but we're just gonna keep grinding, keep continuing what we're doing, and we'll see what the future holds.
Fire. I'm excited for y'all. Thank y'all for coming on here. Make sure y'all follow them if you don't already. Subscribe to them on YouTube. Strictly Bball everywhere. Strictly Football coming soon. Kind of already happening.
Yeah,
it's already happening.
In the early stages.
Okay, early stages of Strictly. Is it Strictly F-ball or is it Strictly?
It's strictly football.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Just making sure. Go tap in with them. And shop with us at 1521 Como Avenue, Southeast Minneapolis, Minnesota. We got vintage tees, we got vintage hoodies, we got jackets, we got like some Carhartt stuff for y'all for this winter. Jordans, Yeezys, Nike Dunks, exotic sodas, recording studio, podcast, YouTube channel. Too much stuff to even go on.
You've got it all.
We got everything. We got sports influencers in the building.
Yes, sir.
Like we do it all. Only thing we ain't doing is just fucking selling drugs. That's about it. Everything legal. That's all we got going on. But yeah, appreciate y'all coming in, and I'm out. Peace.